Yeah, it doesn't sound very good, doesn't it? And really, the first thing that we need to take care of is the audio in this video, and that will go hand in hand in soundproofing the noise that you're making inside your room. So let's just start there. Now that sounds a lot better. The reason why I'm making this video is I've received a few emails and comments from you asking me, how do I soundproof the noise that I am making from bleeding outside the room? Is it the same type of soundproofing from the noise outside trying to come in? And the answer to that is yes and no. The biggest no is the echo in the room when the video started. The louder the echo is, the louder you will sound for the people outside of the room. And that's what you want to do. You want to deaden your sound first. And after we're done deadening the noise, I'll tell you some quick tips on how to soundproof the door and also soundproof the window from your noise from bleeding outside, because one thing, it's going to be a lot cheaper than trying to stop the noise from outside from coming in. So the first thing that you want to do, deaden the sound. Now, a lot of people will say, well, there's a big difference. It's not soundproofing, it's sound deadening. Yes, I understand that. But the thing is, it's really all noise reduction. And if you can deaden the noise, you're going to reduce the amount of noise bleeding outside. Step one, you want to add some acoustic panels or acoustic foam onto the wall. Now, acoustic panels will work better. As you can see, acoustic panels have some insulation inside. They're built on a wooden frame and they work pretty well. However, they're a little bit more expensive. They're about between $50 and $100 each panel, but you require a lot less panels than acoustic foams, where these acoustic foams you can get a pack of 25 for about $50. The ones that I would recommend, however, if you are going to go with acoustic foam, is the 2-inch thick acoustic foam. That's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck. So what you want to do, you want to add it on the wall. You don't have to completely fill the wall. You just want to add enough that you have a noticeable difference of reducing the echo. Now you can go with the thinner 1-inch acoustic foam or the thicker 3 and 4-inch. However, it's not really needed to pay a lot more for the 3 and 4-inch for what you want to do, unless you have a recording studio and you measure everything and you want everything to be perfect. Then okay, you spend a little bit more. But if you just want to deaden your noise, then adding some acoustic foam onto the wall will be a good start. However, you don't even need to do that. You can go a lot cheaper and buy something like moving blankets and add that onto the wall. Now, moving blankets will work in two ways. It'll help deaden the noise inside the room, and it'll also help block a little bit of your noise from going outside the room, but it's not going to block that much noise. Really, here you're trying to use the blanket to deaden the noise. And that's what you want to add onto the wall. Either some moving blankets, acoustic foam, acoustic panel, get rid of the echo. Now, if the noise is outside trying to come in, the acoustics inside your room is not going to help that much. You need to put this outside of the room, and if you live in a rental and you're trying to block noise from outside, it can be a little bit difficult to do that with just these things. That's why most of the time I'll tell you that you can't really soundproof a room with acoustic foam, but in some instances like this, it does go a long way. And a lot of the times, you might be surprised that using sound deadening material to soundproof your own noise, after you've completed, it might be enough to actually make the room a lot better. And if you don't like what these looks like, you can also use canvas paintings or even some acoustic wallpaper. Now, the acoustic wallpaper, I don't find works as well because it is still a flat, somewhat hard surface. So it's not as good as this, but it is going to help a lot better than just having a flat, hard wall. And then you can add some canvas paintings, stuff like that. Anything that will absorb noise. After that, after you're done with the wall, you can add a area rug onto the floor to treat that hard, flat surface. Once you're done deadening the noise inside the room, just go outside and notice. Did it help? It might have helped enough, but there's still a lot of noise that's going to escape the room from the door. And also the window. Instead of replacing the window, adding something like sound deadening curtains or soundproofing curtains will help. Now, when you search for those types of curtains, you just have to know that when they add soundproofing or sound deadening into the word, it is a buzzword that does add a little bit more to the price. It just gives them a reason to make it more expensive because it's specific. It's specific to something. What I would suggest is going ahead and buying something called blackout curtains. I know blackout is another buzzword, but I just find that when looking, they are a little bit cheaper. Blackout curtains, they are 3-layer curtains. 2 layers on the outsides and a black felt in the middle to block out the sun. And these curtains are usually very thick, very heavy, and they do work quite well at not only absorbing noise, but also blocking noise. It doesn't work miracles to block noise coming from outside, but it does help a lot more than what people think from the people inside blocking noise going outside. But if you want to go a step further, I would suggest adding something called a window panel. Now, a window panel, they're clear, you can buy them. One company that I worked with in the past, it's called Indo Window, and those panels actually work quite well in not only blocking the noise from the noise that you're making going outside, but also the noise from outside going inside. So it's something to consider. But one little caveat for that is if you have just a thin window, just a single pane window, these panels works very well. However, if you have a double or triple pane window, the panels don't work as well because you're already blocking a lot of noise from the window, and the panels, I just don't find that in our test, it didn't work as well. So that's one thing to consider because those panels are custom made and they are quite expensive. You can add another type of window panel like the one you see on your screen. They are made of material. You can use a strip of Velcro around the window frame and just Velcro it onto the window frame, and that will work pretty well in blocking your noise because what it's doing, it's absorbing some of your noise and also blocking the noise. Some of these panels have mass-loaded vinyl inside. Mass-loaded vinyl is a very dense, very heavy material. It looks like rubber and it blocks noise. So usually these panels have a layer of mass-loaded vinyl in it and some acoustical or just fiberglass insulation to make it go a little bit further in soundproofing. They can be a little bit expensive, a few $100s, but it is worth looking into if you don't want your noise escaping outside as much. Another way to stop noise coming through the window is just to add some caulking around the window casing, around the window frame. Anywhere where it's cracking, just seal those cracks, and that will also go a long way in stopping the noise. Because they say 50% of the noise can come back in just through a small crack, so make sure to fill those up with acoustical caulking or some silicone caulking. A caulking that basically will not crack over time. Once you're done with the window and the room sounds pretty good and there's not much of an echo left, still a lot of noise going through the door. Now the first thing that you'll want to do with the door is, that big bottom gap. You want to fill that up because there's a lot of noise that's going to be bleeding out of the room through that 1-inch gap at the bottom of the door. And anywhere that you can see light shining through, if you turn off this light, you turn on the light on the other side, you'll notice that if there's light bleeding through all around the door, then you want to seal that up because it's just noise is obviously going right through. The first thing that you'll want to do is get rid of the bottom door gap, and a door sweep will work. Now, the ones that I would recommend is a U-shaped door sweep. Reason for that, it's easy to install, easy to slip off. The reason why it's good to maybe remove it after a while is because if you notice that you seal the room too well, it might constrict, it might stop the airflow coming in, or it might just screw up with the ventilation system. That's one thing to consider. So if it doesn't, then you can permanently attach it right at the bottom of the door and you're good to go. A lot of the times, this door is quite wobbly. Now, if it's wobbly, there's obviously noise coming through, okay? And what you'll want to do first is make sure that the doorstop, there's no gaps. Just want to, this one's perfect. And what you'll want to do is add some acoustical sealant or silicone caulking around that doorstop. But that one thing that's not going to do, it might stop the light from shining through and some of the noise, but the door will still wobble. If the door still wobbles, you can add a thin weather strip around the door, then at least it'll be tight. If the door is tight and has no light shining through, that is quite an improvement on soundproofing the door. Another thing that you can add to the door after sealing it
is you can add a door panel, just like the one that you saw in the window. What it does is it absorbs noise and also blocks noise. A lot of people will tell you that it doesn't block noise, doesn't work, it's all BS, but I actually tried the one that you're seeing on your screen a couple of years ago, and it actually, I was surprised. It blocked more noise than I thought it would, but it was a few $100s. I think it was $500-600. They're made custom, but they're expensive, and it does work quite well at blocking some noise from coming into the room. If you don't want to go with a door panel, personally, I would just swap the door, the hollow core door, with a more solid door. The hollow core door has a honeycomb inside, basically just to hold the door into place. It's not solid, so it's not going to stop a lot of noise, and also it's going to add a little bit of reverb. And also it's going to add a little bit of reverb. And also it's, I had gum surgery. And also it's going to add a little bit of reverberation. So you want to eliminate that by buying a solid core door. You can even go a little bit further and buy a solid wood door, but really a solid core door is going to work quite well. And what's nice, it's only about double the price of this door. And one thing, you can buy it and it looks just like that door. So if you have 20 doors inside your house or 10 doors that all looks the same, you can swap just one out with a solid core door and nobody will ever know. But if you want to know many more ways on soundproofing the door, there is a ton. Video right there will show you how. Now, if that's not enough, if all of this is not enough and there's still a lot of noise because you're very loud, now we'll have to actually go and soundproof the wall. And that can be a little bit tricky if you don't want to demolish the wall. You don't have to demolish the wall. You can actually just add another layer of drywall. That's what I would recommend. You don't have to go ahead and remove the drywall if it's already complete. The easiest thing to do is just add another layer of drywall, preferably 5/8" drywall because it's thicker than your typical 1/2" drywall. It'll stop more noise. And also, it's not as expensive as dedicated soundproofing drywall. Now, the dedicated soundproofing drywall can be a little bit lighter than the 5/8" drywall and work just as well, or maybe a little bit better, but the difference in price is sometimes not really desirable. But first, add something in between, because if you do have a lot of noise coming through, then adding, let's say, a layer of mass-loaded vinyl in between the two layers of drywall will make quite a difference. Some people will tell you that mass-loaded vinyl doesn't work that well, but in my test, mass-loaded vinyl has worked pretty well, and it is worth it if you have a lot of noise escaping the room. And adding that onto the wall, however, the key thing that some people might miss is that it has to encompass the entire wall. You can't just add mass-loaded vinyl on half of the wall and expect it to really work. It's not gonna work. You have to add it all over the wall, and then you add your next layer of drywall, and then you should be good to go. Now, one thing that you don't want to miss are those things right there, the electrical outlets. If the wall is an exterior wall, don't worry about it. It's not gonna make a difference. But if you want to soundproof a wall that is adjoining another room, then if there is another electrical outlet backing that one, that's an open cavity. There's noise coming through. Just take the faceplate off yours, take the faceplate off the opposite room, and just talk. And you'll notice that there's a lot more noise coming in or out than there was previous. So you want to seal that gap around the electrical box. Now, the wall is already finished, so there's not much that you can do, but you can add some acoustical sealant around where the electrical box meets the drywall, and that will help a little bit. And then also you can buy a soundproof outlet cover, so that'll block a lot more noise. Now, if you can go behind the wall and the wall on the other side of the room is unfinished, you can add something called putty pad. You can wrap the electrical box, the outlet box, with putty pad. This is a fire safety item. However, it blocks all of those holes inside that electrical outlets, preventing noise from going out, preventing fire from going out, but also noise, and that's what you want. But most of the time, the wall is already finished and you can only go so far with the electrical outlet. But some people are surprised at how much noise is actually going through when you have somebody on the other side of the wall that is either noisy or you're noisy. And if you want to know many more ways on how to soundproof a room, and especially how to do it on a budget, video right there. That'll show you a lot of ways on how to do it correctly. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, assuming that you have subscribed.